Okay, greetings all. I have here a bit of a conundrum with the end of support for Windows 10 on October 14th, fast approaching. I can't get the last two updates on it to qualify for the extra year of service updates. So this little B-Link, model number AP42, I purchased it in 2017, and it just does light tasks around here. It's in a spare office here at the house, and it only has a 64 gigabyte flash drive that's soldered to the motherboard, and in one of the side slots there, if you can see, there's a 128 gigabyte SD card. I was using that for storage, and it was fine for browsing and such like that on the internet. But I can't get those last updates to fit on that 64 gigabyte drive. So inside of here is an NVMe slot. So I had to order an upgrade. So I got a 256 gigabyte m.2 SSD, and it's a SATA 3, very slow, but it has some DRAM cache, and it's very small, so it will fit into that mini PC. And it's model number 430S, and the size is a 2242. I got that on Amazon. And the good thing about it is if you go onto the Transcend webpage, you can download software to clone your C drive that's soldered to the motherboard and put it onto this new 256 gigabyte drive. So if you go to their web site, you can download a program called SSD Scope, and we'll see how that works. So before you do all of that, I have to install it, of course, into the little B-Link. Take the bottom off, and I think the screws are underneath the rubber feet. You undo the few screws for the motherboard and flip it out, and there's a slot there, and it's empty, so I'll just pop that in, and hopefully it gets recognized, and we can do some cloning. And then I'll just erase the 64 gigs on the motherboard there and use that for some more storage. Anyway, you got to make sure all your programs are closed off, so you just right click on your your Windows button there, and you'll get to the run part there. And as you know, you just type in ms-config and enter, and then you go to startup and into your task manager, and you'll see everything that was here that would normally start up is now disabled. So we're good to go there. So there'll be no programs running when I clone this hard drive up. So I'm going to install this now, and maybe I'll show you how that goes, and we'll run the program, and we'll see how it works. All right, so I've installed that small SSD hard drive here, and there's a lot of videos about how to do that on this particular model. It's kind of a tedious thing, but all I'll tell you here is if you flip the back cover here, you flip it forwards towards the power switch here, and flip it up that way, because the Wi-Fi antenna wires are attached inside right here, and that's the only thing attached to the motherboard that you have to be careful of. So you pull it up towards you and turn it around there so you don't break those little wires. And another thing is this power button will fall inside, and it has a little tab on the bottom of it there that kind of goes in to a little slot, and it wants to keep falling out. So I just put some masking tape over the top there to hold it in place while I reposition the motherboard. And you just need the small number 1 Phillips for the 4 screws that are here, and then there's the rubber feet that are attached. They got a bit of glue on them, and they just go cover over top of the opening there, and you push them back in there, and hopefully the glue will hold it back in place. But what I found was really handy is here in Canada we have a store. It's called Princess Auto, and that's the Canadian version of Harbor Freight somewhat. And they had this little kit here that I picked up quite a while ago, and it's 51 in 1 professional grade tech and gadget repair kit. So that was really handy to have to, I used the tool here to pull the cover back and the tweezers to pick up the little power switch, and the little screws up, the screwdriver, the end there. I use this one, the tweezers, and really, really handy to do this type of a job here. But comes with quite a few items there. You can see what it would have on the back here, and anyway, and the magnetic pad there to put the screws on there so you don't lose everything. But anyway, worked out okay. So now I am going to reconnect everything and boot it up, and hopefully it recognizes the hard drive. And that software from Transcend only will recognize a Transcend hard disk, or hard drive. So then we can use it, and I'll get into the cloning, and we'll see how that works. All right. Okay, and just briefly here, because it does make a difference. I put the rubber feet back on, and they seem to be sticking, but I had the cover on reverse. This label was over here, and if you are wondering if it matters, it does, because the screws were a little bit not going in completely straight. So this is the orientation for it. Your Wi-Fi hinge is here, and you want the cover, the model number and everything to be this way, and it does matter because it fits a lot better, and it's nice and squared in there. So, and then the vents are, I guess, in the right spot, and there is a little sort of a pad in there to take some of the heat off. And another thing with this kit, this thing here is magnetized, so it made it a lot easier to hold the screws and to put the 4 screws in here, and then there's 3 in the motherboard, same size. And as well, before you try to clone your drive, you just remember to take out the, if you have an SD card in, to eject that properly and remove it so that doesn't corrupt anything when you're trying to clone that drive. So anyhow, that's a couple things that I found now. So we'll get back to that cloning portion. All right, so just a couple things to save you some anguish. When you boot the system up and you go into disk management and you just initialize that hard drive, you don't give it assign it a letter, and also you don't format it. And then you use your system clone program, it'll recognize it, and you also check to extend the volume, and you leave that just cloning the operating system, just leave that unchecked. So I can see if I can see that here. Yeah, extend the disk. You make sure that's checked, and leave that one unchecked. And then when this is completed, it only took about 20 minutes. Then you have to go into the BIOS and change the boot order so it will boot from the new SSD. And once you do that, it will assign the SSD as the C drive, and then the source drive will become the D drive. It does that automatically. So I'm going to try and do that now, and I hope it works, but it should. Okay, so here I am into the boot sequence in the BIOS, and just an FYI, it automatically put that new Transcend SSD as the priority one, so I didn't have to change anything in here. So I'll just save that and exit, and then we'll get back to the disk management and see if it assigned the D drive to the old flash drive that's soldered onto the motherboard. All right, so here's the disk management screen, and this is what pops up after the disk cloning using the Transcend software. And you can see there we have the new solid state turned into the C drive, and I put in my SD card, and that is the D drive. And down on the bottom there you'll see the soldered flash drive. That was taken offline, and it says it's offline because it has a signature collision with another disk. That's the new one. So the old one, the system took it offline. So what you would do is you just bring it back online. You would just click it, and you right click on it, and you can bring it back online. And once you do that, it gets initialized, and you can then reformat it and use those extra, what do I got here, 58 gigabytes of space. But a couple other things. Instead of using the thermal pads for the new SSD, probably use putty, but if it was a high-end system, you would use the thermal putty. That's about $35 for a small little tub of thermal putty. And the cooler, the copper heat shield that I bought, the size is one size smaller. I have a size 2242 solid state drive, and the cooler that I purchased on Amazon is a 2230, because that was the only one they could ship me overnight. So it's the controller at the front of the new drive there. That's what puts out all the heat. The memory chip just behind it, it's fine. It doesn't matter if it runs a little bit warm, but the controller's the one that really kicks off all the heat. So I bought the 2230 size, and that covers over the controller, and it lifts the heat off well enough. So if someone else has a 2242 copper shield for one of these little things and it makes it cooler, well, that'd be interesting to find out. But anyway, that's what we're working with here. So I'm just making sure everything works on the new hard drive, and eventually I'll initialize the old one that's soldered into the motherboard there, and I'll reformat that, and then I'll have some extra space to use there if I run out of room on the SD card. But anyway, that's all about the disk management there, and I guess I'll label this one the E drive when I get around to changing that up here. All right, so that's all for the hard drive and the disk management system. All right, just back here with a little issue that popped up after I installed this 2230 sized SSD. It started to get a little bit hot. It was showing 80 degrees Celsius there and started to climb even beyond that, so I didn't like to see that. So I had to order this little kit here on Amazon. Came with some stuff that you're not really going to use because it says it's for a Steam Deck SSD replacement. And it has these thermal pads here. They're different sizes, 0.5 millimeter and down. You get three different sizes, the green ones, the gray ones there, and that little pink one up top. But that's all you'll need here for this PC. And the idea is to make this surface here level, because that controller near the right side there, it has this label on it, but you leave that label on because that's a thermal label from the manufacturer. So just leave that on, and I'll try and level that out with some of these, I guess smaller, maybe these green ones here. We'll raise that enough to make contact with this copper heat shield there, so that should transfer the heat down. I hope it can get it below 80. That's the goal here, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'll stick them on top of the controller, slide that copper heat shield on, and then reinstall it, and we'll see what kind of temperatures we get then. Okay, so I installed that, and here's the sequential read and write performance there, and you'll see status. It is actually pretty good compared to what it was. It was up to 80 Celsius. So after I installed that cooler, it's running at 69. I did have to raise the height of this. I just stuck a couple of pens underneath it for now, get it up off the desk there, because it is fanless. So anyhow, I haven't really worked it really hard, but I think that the copper heat shield is working, and that there was no way the temperature was going to come down to that without it. So I guess worst case scenario, I'll have to get a small desk fan and just blow it over on there, which defeats the purpose of having a fanless mini PC. But all in all, that's it. That's all for this small installation of an m.2 SSD in the Beelink AP42. And take care, everybody. Bye for now. So, just briefly, I still haven't got back to the hard drives yet, but I finally received all the updates, and I just want you to know, because I got the larger hard drive, there's the message. I get the free updates for another year, because I got some of the stuff backed up on my PC to the OneDrive from Microsoft there, so you don't have to even upload it to the cloud. You just have to back your stuff up on the PC. So that's another reason why I didn't have too many gigabytes left. But I'm really happy to see this, and that's the reason I ordered the drive. I'm glad it worked, and I was able to get through it all. It I just did it in between other tasks I was doing today at home, and well, that just goes to show you a little persistence can pay off for you. All right, take care.